What's up, YouTube? This is Boxingwave. I wanted to do a quick video talking a little bit about Turkey al-sheikh, who says he's going to abolish pay-per-views with any Riyadh season or Ring Magazine boxing card, okay, starting November, okay? First off, I think it's great news. It's great news. I'm tired of paying for pay-per-views. I've made content over the years about pay-per-views and how they were ruining the sport. It was taking more eyes off the sport because people will not pay for pay-per-views. People that didn't have access to Fire Sticks or all kinds of piracy streaming services. For the people that don't have access to it, and there's still a lot of people that don't, they wouldn't see the fight because it was pay-per-view. You're taking less eyes and viewership off a fight because you're charging them an extra fee. If you're not already paying for the subscription, whether you was on Showtime, whether you was on HBO, dazn, espn Plus, whatever it is, you're paying a subscription already for the platform to get access to all of the content, but then you're paying an additional fee for that specific event, So what do I think about that? It's great. I mean, I paid over $200 already this month for pay-per-views, and just in a month of July, already paid over $200, and then I'm still paying the subscription for ESPN Plus, for DAZN, and I think that's all I'm paying for those two right now. We used to have Showtime. I used to pay for Showtime. It's a lot. Boxing is a very, very expensive sport. And it's crazy because I watch every other sport, for the most part, for free. Or it costs me a lot less to have a subscription to watch all the other sports that I watch. I watch basketball. I pay DirecTV monthly, but I get to watch basketball, baseball, football, whatever sports I want to see. F1, I get to watch everything for that monthly subscription. Whereas in boxing, I'm paying the subscription for the streaming service, but then I have to pay additional for pay-per-views. So it's very, very expensive, right? If you are doing it that way, unless you have Fire Stick or, whatever piracy tool that you use or whatever. So I think that's great. The only thing is it really going to happen? And if it happens, how long is that going to last? Let's be real. We've heard it before. We've heard PBC say that on their rollout. They was giving us top tier fights on primetime television. It was going back. Their rollout was like, we're going to go back to the older days and we're just going to give you boxing live on national TV. And it sounded great. We had all the PBC guys, the Charlo twins, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Robert Guerrero, Adrian Broner. It was good. It was good until we started paying for fights on Showtime, even though they were PBC. And then DAZN came out. Same thing. Pay-per-view was dead. That was their rollout. Pay-per-view was dead. You just pay this streaming service on the zone. You're getting all the fights you want. We get to see Anthony Joshua. We seen all these guys. And then it seemed like maybe around the time Canelo started fighting over there, we started getting pay-per-views. And now we're just getting pay-per-views while the streaming service, the monthly service, well, I pay yearly on the zone, but the monthly service has gone up a lot since the zone started. And I get it. There's more fights on there. It's a better quality app at this point. But it's very expensive. It's very expensive. So what happens? Plus, let's also factor. Are these guys making a profit? I've talked about this on my live. Is the Saudis making money at this point? Because when we look at the purses of the fighters, and some of these fighters are still not happy with the amount of money, even if it's quadruple the times of money that they made on their highest purse. some of these guys are still turning down fights. They're still turning down the money coming from Turkey. So when I say that, I gotta wonder, if some of these fighters are getting well over $100 million to fight one time. I mean, basketball, football, baseball players are playing night in and night out all season for months, and they're not making that much in 1 year. Where your guy could come out and fight one time and throughout the whole year, or maybe twice that year, and make that much in one night. And then the matchup sometimes is not, the match itself might not even be that good, but regardless, are they making a profit? Are they trying to make a profit? Like, what's the end goal? I guess we'll know within the next year or two. What is the end goal with this? How is this sustainable? Now, I know the money over there is a lot longer than what it was with the PBC, what it was with DAZN without Turkey. I mean, when it came to just Matchroom and Golden Boy and now Queensberry, who's over there, you know what I mean? I know it's a little different, so I understand that the money is bigger over there, but I mean, are they going to continue giving away money? Not only that, but as good as some of the matchups are, right? You have certain fight cards that no matter how decent the matchups are or how good some of them are, some of them are just going to be a dud. Because once a fighter agrees on a payment and we agree on a purse, right? And everybody signs everything over and these guys get in the ring, you cannot control how a fighter or a boxer boxes that night. You're going to get duds every once in a while, and this happened on several Riyadh season cards. We expect a good fight. We expect an action-packed fight, but we'll get fights like Lawrence Okoli against Kevin Lerena, or Edmondson against Lapine, right? You can't control that. We might not expect it, but when it happens, it's nothing you can do. It's nothing you can do. Skull against Canelo, I can go on with names of different fights that they just end up being duds. And sometimes the whole card is a dud, maybe until the main event. Sometimes the main event is a dud. So even though you pay these guys, and I'm glad that Turkey is making the best fight the best, he's doing the best he can to make the best fight the best. Sometimes the matchup itself doesn't come out the way we expect it to. And it's hard because these guys are getting paid more, right, to fight the people that, normally will have these 5-year buildups to make. So I'm glad that he's making the effort to put on some really good fights that we normally would not get. But you can't control how the fight actually goes. You can't control it. Some fights are going to end up being really good, and some fighters are they're just going to stand and sit in the ring and just look at each other. And at that point, they already got the bag. I think at the end of the day, unless you put in contract that you have to perform, which you can't do. You can't do it. That wouldn't be boxing. That would be probably another sport. I don't know how you control that, but I love the idea of not having to pay pay-per-views. I do. But I'm also trying to look at realistically, like, how long can that go? How long are these fighters keep going to get huge purses and getting paid for these huge events, right? And there's no money coming back in, I think there's more eyes on boxing than it has been, and at least, it's been a long time. So I love that part. I understand what they're trying to do as far as the viewership. They want more eyes on the sport. Look with the success of Netflix and Jake Paul, Tyson, and now the Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. I don't know what the numbers of the trilogy of Fight with them did, but I mean, Netflix is in too, and Netflix is not charging a separate pay-per-view. For now, they're not doing it, but I expect it at some point, and we talked about this on the channel. I expect Netflix at some point You know, if they start getting really involved and taking some of the real top fighters that have names and putting it on their platform, it wouldn't be hard and difficult for Netflix to say, all right, well, we're having this fight on our platform, but now we're charging pay-per-views, even though you're paying a monthly Netflix subscription. You know, Netflix does have money to burn. Obviously, the Saudi Arabians have money to burn as well. But how long are they going to continue doing it without going back to the old pay-per-view way of doing things? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm hoping they can go and stretch this out as long as possible, because it's going to save a lot of us money, and a lot of fighters are going to get the viewership that they deserve, because people do miss out on some really good fights. But people are paying for fights and not getting the entertainment they deserve too. And that's one thing I don't think you can fully control when it comes to the sport of boxing. You know, maybe over there in bare knuckle, maybe over there in different, you know, forms of boxing and MMA and stuff like that. But when it's just pure boxing and we're talking about the sanctioning bodies and stuff like that, I don't know how it's going to be sustainable if they're trying to make a profit. If they don't care and they got to continue burning money, I guess, and overpaying some of these guys, it is what it is. All right, but I like it. I hope it works. That's my only thing. I'm just hoping it works. I don't know all the insides of it. I mean, I'm a content creator that's a huge boxing fan, so I don't know all the insides on the business side, but I do have a lot of knowledge on the sport and a lot of experience and information on the sport, and I've seen how things come and go throughout the years. And I'm just hoping that this no pay-per-view thing works out for the long run. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel, smash the thumbs up. I'm sitting in traffic, so I mean, it's a good time to watch, talk about some boxing, man. But I'll see you guys in a little bit. Y'all have a good day. Take care. Peace.